Hi everyone, thanks for joining us the NATURA webinar series today. My name is Yawon Kim. I'm a postdoc scholar with the NATURA projects. We have two presenters today and two institutions to be introduced to us. So first network is ReNature, and then the second network is the International Long-Term Ecological Research Project, ILTER, and the Integrated European Long-Term Ecosystem Critical Zone and Socio-Ecological Research Infrastructure, eLTR-RI. So first we'll have ReNature presented by Mario Balzan. Mario, are you ready?
Hello, Yawon. Yes, I'm here. Can I share my screen?
Sure. Let me.
Okay, I think I'm unable to do it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You should be able to see my presentation. Well, I'm presenting ReNature. ReNature is a Horizon 2020 project funded by the European Union. And I'm the coordinator of this project, which basically intends and aims to achieve to promote capacity building for nature-based solutions and promote clustering at a local level and also at a regional level for nature-based solutions. You can see here some photos from past events of which I will be talking during this presentation. Um, the ReNature is focused on one country, but we collaborate with a number of institutions from across Europe, so 6 partners in total. Um, and it's a twinning project. So the objective is actually, as I was saying, capacity building, networking, clustering, and bringing institutions and people together. And we've been doing this in a number of ways that I'm going to explain. So these are the 6 partners in ReNature. And basically, this is our established goal, which is to foster transdisciplinary bottom-up processes and the creation of a continuous dialogue between communities to increase uptake of nature-based solutions. And the uptake of nature-based solutions, particularly in Malta, which is where we are based, but also to a wider extent within the Mediterranean region, as I'm going to explain in my next few slides. At a regional level and at global level, we have become familiar with the focus on nature-based solutions, and I think we are at the moment in time where there is a significant uptake of nature-based solutions and significant interest from policy and also beyond policy businesses and communities to increase the uptake of nature-based solutions. And here I show the IUCN Global Standard of Nature-Based Solutions, which I'm sure all of us are familiar with. And we are working in the Mediterranean region, and I think 2 reports from 2019, well, 1 report from 2019 for the region basically is particularly relevant here, and of course the agenda 2017 agenda of the EU. Working at a national scale and also in a practitioner's paper which we have recently sent out for review, basically we try to identify the barriers and opportunities for nature-based solutions implementation at national and local scales, but with a focus on the Mediterranean region. So what can foster the uptake of nature-based solutions and what is hindering the uptake of nature-based solutions? And when we were discussing with our practitioners, we sort of grouped these barriers and opportunities into 2 categories. The first one being the political dimension, basically. We felt that, but not we, the practitioners mostly, felt that there's a guidance by regional and national policies, which often set targets or terms of reference for uptake of nature-based solutions. Increasingly so, there's more public support, as has been seen, for example, in Europe from Eurobarometer surveys. So these were considered as being positive aspects, or the opportunities. Financial mechanisms were considered both as barriers and opportunities. There are existing financing mechanisms, but at times this could also be a barrier, especially for some organizations to make use of these finance tools. And one aspect which we sort of our practitioners and policymakers felt was a critical aspect was the lack of institutional capacity to take up nature-based solutions as a new initiative, and the lack of quantitative targets. So we have support by the public. The decision makers also want to go in that direction many times, but we don't exactly know how well do they contribute to specific climate goals, to specific environmental and social goals, and so on. And the knowledge dimension, research and innovation was considered as being a positive aspect, and this is one way in which you can increase the capacity to take up novel nature-based solutions, basically. The quantification and costs and benefits, and here we talk about from a Mediterranean region perspective, was considered as being one of the limitations, sort of something which is not available at the moment. Um, okay. And well, in our region and where we work, basically, we we deal with a number of challenges, societal challenges, and here I'm showing screenshots, recent screenshots from media about flooding, about heat waves, about air pollution, um, population growth. We're talking also from a small island perspective, um, and basically these are the societal challenges that could be tackled through nature-based solutions. And I think most of us are familiar with these graphics from the nature-based solutions global standard. It's also the case for where we live. So past research has shown that cities are essentially cities where people live, but with very low accessibility to nature, and with very low presence of urban ecosystems that can provide ecosystem services and benefits. And then these two graphs, basically, this is from a publication from a couple of years ago, ecosystem service capacity against green infrastructure, and that's a very clear positive trend. But then green infrastructure declines strongly with population density, which is also kind of logical, but it's also a way of urban planning which has not allowed sufficient green spaces, and for to provide benefits and ecosystem services to communities, basically. So against this background, which sort of as a regional and national one, within the ReNature project, we set out to network, to cluster, to capacity build institutions, to work towards the increasing their uptake of nature-based solutions. So the key themes that we tackle basically are sustainable landscape design and planning, evidence-based policy, and developing a national research and innovation cluster. And my institution, MCAST, is trying to work with collaborators from those six partner institutions to build the capacity, but also to network at national and that regional scale and international scale. The NATURA network is, of course, one way of doing this. The key pillars of the ReNature project are basically capacity building, participatory process I'm going to show soon, knowledge synthesis approaches, sharing data open access, creating a blueprint for nature-based solutions with a specific focus on the Mediterranean region, and developing, and this now as a local scale, a research strategy for nature-based solutions with our researchers and also practitioners. So I'm going to tackle these one by one. Basically, we've said I think there's an opportunity also to link to Natura in terms of the training courses. So ReNature has so far done carried out 5 training courses and 1 webinar, and these were done basically in a number of countries, so Italy, Ireland, Malta, and this is one of the training courses. We've had a PhD summer school. So this was held in conjunction with a cost action, the Circular City cost action, which also focuses on nature-based solutions for sustainability, um, and which was well attended and was held last year. This year we had planned another summer school, but of course, because of the COVID pandemic, there was a problem with this, and now it was postponed to March 2021, as I'm going to show in my next few slides. This was so after COVID, we've moved online, and this is a training event. So the ReNature webinar in June with a number of presentations from the team, and then the last of the ReNature training, basically, um, which was held in September and which focused on the science policy interface, and how to sort of try to promote the uptake of nature-based solutions based on our work in science and also the work of in policy which is being done, basically. Um, so I've mentioned capacity building. These are some of the topics we've been talking about: monitoring biodiversity and land, mainstreaming nature-based solutions in planning and policy making, nature-based solutions in urban planning and rural landscapes, and the need for interdisciplinary approaches. I've already mentioned the second, this would have been a summer school. A summer school in Malta would have probably been a nicer than doing it online. But due to current situation, with the summer school has become a winter school and is being carried out in online. So we shall be launching this PhD training school in January, and we have a 4-day program of 3 hours, but also with some group work in the afternoon, where we basically have keynote speakers who are working with nature-based solutions and tackling specific topics, like, for example, environmental justice, and how to design nature-based solutions. So we have a mix of researchers and also practitioners and architects. And then we also plan to have this not just as a training course, but also a way for PhD students to work together in groups. And we've identified 3 case studies which were recently opened for public consultation here in Malta, and which are aiming to incorporate nature-based solutions, and so in the case studies we'll ask the students basically to try to come up with their own alternative. So we see this as an opportunity to network also for our students, but also at a wider scale for the ReNature network, and other networks who are interested to collaborate. I mentioned participatory processes. When we started, one of the key questions we had basically was what is limiting the uptake of nature-based solutions in the region, and we have carried out a knowledge needs assessment using a Delphi survey, basically with practitioners from Malta and from other Mediterranean islands, so Sicily, Sardinia, Cyprus, and others, I think. And through this workshop, basically, we collaboratively identified priority knowledge needs for improving the uptake of nature-based solutions. In the end, we had a representation from these islands in the Mediterranean, and the stakeholders came mainly from practice, basically. So they are practitioners. And these were the top 5 knowledge needs. So what we found was that the top knowledge need is what exactly are nature-based solutions, and which sort of to us meant that although there's a lot of focus on this at a regional level and in research, and it seems that we're not bridging with practice enough, at least because most of the practitioners felt that they don't know enough about nature-based solutions. And then the other questions were about how well nature-based solutions are, so how we can adapt nature-based solutions to the dry Mediterranean conditions in order to minimize irrigation and water management issues. How to increase the adoption and actual use of nature-based solutions in urban plans, how to retrofit buildings with nature-based solutions, or green infrastructure, and the need for cost-benefit analysis of urban green spaces. And also we found as another knowledge need of nature-based solutions, which was one of the other knowledge needs. I mentioned open data sharing. we developed a compendium for now focusing on Malta, but we're trying to develop this as a regional compendium. So we have issued a call for examples of implementation of nature-based solutions in the region. So an interactive compendium which shares information about the benefits of implementation of nature-based solutions, the key sustainable development goals tackled, um, and why sort of the implementer was interested in adopting a nature-based solution. Was it because of specific societal challenges, example, the issue of air pollution, or providing space for recreation, or stormwater management, and so on and so forth. So it's one way in which we are trying really to showcase good practices. The compendium, as I was saying now, is being expanded to the Mediterranean region, and we want to network and link to other projects um, who have case studies which they would like to share. Of course, we attribute all case studies to the owner of the case study. And actually, it's not just the Mediterranean region, but we've received some very nice case studies from other places around the world, which also have a Mediterranean climate. I think that this is an opportunity to collaborate and to share what is good practices, basically, um, that may eventually improve the uptake of nature-based solutions. So our strategic approach, and this is my last slide, basically, has been this. With our data collection and analysis and our work, we try to establish a clear understanding of what are the societal challenges. Are they always the same in different parts of the country or in different parts of the city? And in our case, we show that our data shows that there's problems associated with environment, with social and environmental justice. So it's not just a question of dealing with stormwater or with air pollution, but we have to tackle these wider aspects which are not always taken into consideration. Um, so we felt that one of the issues right now is actually the availability of data, and with the partners in the project, we're trying to build up the evidence base and to share this as open data. I've just mentioned the compendium, but also through other data, other analysis and work we are doing, for example, with monitoring land use um, and green infrastructure and so on. Um, Networking and clustering, um, especially where data is not there, we feel that through specific methods we can actually bring stakeholder expertise on board to help us develop more sustainable solutions, and then to develop indicators and tools which can be used to evaluate nature-based solutions. What we are seeing now is an increase in uptake of nature-based solutions, but the questions we are asking is how effective are these nature-based solutions, and do the benefits outweigh the costs? And in many cases, when we look at the literature, you see case studies implemented around the world, and sometimes also in our where we are, but not something which is global, or which is at regional scale. So we feel that there's an opportunity there to build our tools and methodologies to evaluate and BS nature-based solutions better, basically, in terms of their potential benefits to biodiversity, ecosystem services, and their impacts on society. Um, and finally is the MBS interventions, and here we try to collaborate as much as possible with practitioners and policymakers. Um, so this is more or less what nature is about, what we have been doing. These steps which are shown here really link to some of the actions which I have shown in my short presentation. And we just joined NATURA, so we are very happy to be part of this network of networks, and we hope that there's an opportunity to collaborate further. And with that, I leave you with a shot from the last PhD training school, summer school, which was in September last year, on a small island called Comino, with our group of students. And I remind that we should be having another training school soon, so which we will distribute also with Natura. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mario. We are also very excited to have the ReNature in the NATURA network and looking forward to more collaboration across the networks here. And we have some time for questions, for Maria. If you guys have any question, please go ahead.
Mario, this is Nancy Grimm. Thank you for your interesting presentation. I'd just like to hear a little bit more about the summer training schools. How long do those go on and who staffs them? So this one is the online one. Is that shortened over the standard?
Yeah. So the first training school was a full week.
Okay.
And it was held in Malta last year in September, and we had basically the trainers were experts from the ReNature team, but also collaborators and practitioners from around mostly Europe. We tackled in our first training school, so this was last year, but we tackled aspects such as the link between nature-based solutions and biodiversity. We looked, we had two case studies. So in our training schools, we try as much as possible to link to actual case studies. So what is happening on the ground? So we had case studies, one rural and one urban, and we took the students there, and we try to sort of with the trainers and in smaller groups to develop new paths for the implementation of nature-based solutions and new visions, basically. And I think then we presented, so in the first summer school, then these visions were presented to policymakers and politicians from these localities. You asked me about who is delivering the training, and I think that it's a number of key in this case professors, in this case in the first training school from around Europe. In the second training school, which is now happening completely online, it's still a 4-day event, which is happening between we meet officially for 3 hours, so 9 to 12 CET, but then there's group work, and we allowed time for the students basically to work on these case studies that we have identified. As for the trainers, in this case, we are currently inviting some keynote speakers, and then there's a number of speakers from the ReNature program. What we try to achieve with the training schools is a high level of collaboration. So we adopt a problem-solving approach. So we set out particular problems, and the trainers and the students then work together towards key tasks which are and problems which are set by the training team, basically. In this case, I cannot give you a list of trainers because we are still inviting.
Oh, that's okay.
And we have some pending invitations, basically.
Yeah, I just wanted to know sort of not names, but who are the general, is it professors or what? Yeah.
Yeah, it's professors. So if you go to the ReNature, I don't have it here, but if you go to the ReNature website, one of the tabs is summer school, and the program for the first summer school is still there.
Right. Great, thank you. That's very interesting. I'd go to Malta in the summer.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun, and we learned a lot, I think. It's a pity that we could not have such a summer school again this year. But we've also, I mean, I also realized that with the online training, it's also working relatively well because you reach a wider audience. And in the training course that we had, and Timon was with us for that training course, we had quite a diverse community, and I think we reached a wider audience from many countries.
Just quick question about summer school. Is it only for the graduate PhD level student, or is it also for like early career scientists like postdocs. So we have a early career scientist network. So I will be more than happy to share this information with them.
Yes, so it's targeting primarily PhD students, but we also say early career researchers. And in the past, we've had early career researchers and PhD students, mostly basically. We've had some master students. I think what's something which is very important to say is basically that when we launch a call for application, we include either that the people who want to participate send us an abstract or tell us a bit about their experience, so that when we make the selection of students, then we try to have a wide representation from different countries, and a mix of experience as well. So some people would be just starting their PhD, but we've also had early career researchers who are in a postdoc position.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mario, for your presentation. Sorry.
Oh, we're done. Sorry. Yeah. There's a question in the chat. Maybe you can answer it in the chat, Mario, because I think we need to move on.
I'll do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Mario. So our next second presenter of the day is Daniel Orenstein, presenting and introducing about the International LTER and eLTER-RI. Daniel, please take the floor.
Thank you very much. Is my screen being shared right now?
Not yet.
Oops, sorry. 1 second. No, just in time, I lost the Zoom window. Here we go. Now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you for the introduction. And thank you, Mario, for the great talk beforehand. You never want a better talk to be right before yours, but this might be the case. I'm presenting the European LTER network and the international LTER network. I kind of do a convergence of the two of those because a lot of us in the European network also work in the international network, and a lot of the goals and the objectives and the conceptual frameworks converge there. And I'll talk about the network and its opportunities and the way it might provide for research on nature-based solutions. But then I'm going to be saved by Dr. Kinga Krauze, who's also a member of the European network and probably the most qualified to speak to your core issue in NATURA of nature-based solutions. So I'm lucky to be accompanied by Kinga today. And my other caveat is that some of this may reflect Dan and Emma's presentations from your last meeting, because CAP LTER and the Boston Urban Ecosystem Study are really kind of the flagship social ecological urban studies in the international network. So I'll refer to those tangentially and try to focus on other examples, but know that really your last presentation gave a very good introduction to what is possible in the international and the European networks as well. And there's a lot of cross-fertilization between the networks, whether it's the North American network, the European network, or the international network. Let's see. So the International Long-Term Ecological Research Network is, like NATURA, a network of networks. There are continental and national networks of long-term ecological research sites and long-term social ecological research platforms. And those national networks and regional networks come together under the umbrella of the international network. The international network, all of those networks share the long-term observational approach to collecting data. They are all whole systems analysis frameworks, meaning all of the various spheres, if it's the hydrosphere, the biosphere, the atmosphere, and the social ecological system, and they're all place-based and emphasize interdisciplinary research. The international network was founded in 1993, It's a collaboration of all 6 representatives of all 6 continents, and European LTER is ILTER is the European partner in that consortia. There we go. It's a particularly exciting time to be part of the European network right now, because of great advances in the last. I'm getting a sign that my network is unstable. So the European network was launched in 2003. It consists of 26 country representatives, 450 sites, 35 platforms. The distinction between sites and platforms are that platforms were designed to integrate social ecological research or social systems and ecosystems together. I'll emphasize that point a little bit later as well. Since in the last couple of years, last year, we were awarded 2 Horizon 2020 grants to institutionalize our infrastructure, to really build the foundations, whether it's the legal, the administrative, the financial, the governmental foundations, to make this research infrastructure a permanent feature on the European research landscape. And that has been represented by being accepted into the European into the European research infrastructure framework, which gives us European Union recognition that we will be a service providing data and research for the entire European community. Once we were accepted onto that roadmap, what's called the ESRI roadmap, it assures us or gives us access to longer term funding for the next 20-25 years. And with these 2 Horizon 2020 grants, it really has given us a very strong tailwind to institutionalize the network. The conceptual framework of our network is, again, the whole systems approach. It is cross-disciplinary and has specific structural frameworks for studying and integrating each one of these various spheres that you see on the left side of the slide. So we have what's called regular sites, which are monitoring sites for one or several of the variables over the long term that we'd like to incorporate into research. We're institutionalizing master sites that carry a whole suite of variables to monitor over long periods of time that represent all of the various spheres. And then we have the platforms which specifically integrate the social and economic spheres as well. And the design of the infrastructure is to provide data and research and a research framework for not just the members of our network, but the entire European community. And here I emphasize that because we see each one of you and the organizations that you represent as potential partners to utilize the data, to utilize the research sites, and to collaborate with the research teams. And really, that's a fundamental core development of the network right now. We focus primarily on issues, what we call the 4 global, grand challenges, environmental challenges, biodiversity loss, geochemical controls of ecosystem function, the climate, water, food nexus, and socio-ecological systems. These are our kind of fundamental or core research topics. And around each one, we've mobilized our research expertise into teams that integrate each one of those subject matters into our data collection and into our data analysis and research program. Our social ecological, now I'm going to segue into the social ecological because that's going to bring us to the nature-based solutions topic. Our social ecological work is both research and a research process. The research is the integrative whole systems approach, integrating social systems and biophysical systems. And the process is being a stakeholder-driven, policy-relevant research program. That is, we work with communities and with stakeholders within these long-term social ecological research platforms to define their problems, build a research program that addresses them, and work with communities towards research results and for policy advocacy. And all of this is supposed to be, theoretically, a collaborative enterprise that's an iterative process that doesn't end. You go through the policy implementation and continue the research towards better and better policy solutions. And it's a very reflexive process as well. It's introspective, looking at what our role is in the research and whether we're contributing to civil society through the research that we're doing. This can be expressed not only in kind of the traditional sites that are out there in nature, but in particularly in urban sites, urban LTR, LTSER sites, and two of the examples are on the screen on the left, or it can be within the context of a broad geographic area that includes within it urban areas. For instance, the French example in the right side of the slide. Now we've done, and I'm going to speed up a little because I really want to leave most of the time for Kinga. I'm actually going to skip over this slide. And here I want to come clean and kind of be very forthright in saying that nature-based solutions currently is not a primary objective of our research program. It's not mentioned in most of our fundamental documents, but I will argue that the way we're structured facilitates the process of looking for nature-based solutions. And when I say that, it's associated different elements of our program, like addressing these grand challenges. If we're going to do stakeholder-driven, policy-relevant research on climate change, mineral cycling, biodiversity loss, or sustainable resource use, those will include in their policy relevancy at the end what nature-based solutions can contribute to resolving the problems identified by our stakeholder communities or by our researchers. So the integration of stakeholders, the orientation towards policy all drives us towards that area of looking for what we're calling in this framework nature-based solutions. The last two slides I have are news of interest. Tessa had requested that we also talk about what's going on now in the network. And here are the three big changes in European LTER. One I mentioned earlier, acceptance into the European Strategy Forum on Infrastructures, the ESPRI roadmap, the award of 2 Horizon 2020 grants to realize the goals of the ESPRI roadmap, and just even more recently this month being accepted into or being a founding partner of the Global Ecosystem Research Infrastructure, whose members are listed on this graph on the right side of the screen. So those are quite exciting developments, more relevant to this audience. Part of our Horizon 2020 grants are transnational and remote access to all of our, a selection of our sites and platforms. This particular map shows you which sites and platforms are available. Our first round of transnational access grants are due, the applications are due next week. So if you are interested, it's certainly not too late, and nature-based solution research within our various platforms would be a wonderful proposal. And so I'd like to encourage you to at least look at what financing is available for you, for your students, to conduct the type of research along with our researchers, using our data sources and our infrastructures to conduct the research that you'd like to do in the European research landscape. And the link is there, of course. Now I want to move over to Dr. Kinga Krauze pictured here at another one of our platforms, our hyper-arid platform in the Arava Valley. Nancy has been there as well. And over to Kinga. Thanks. I have to.
I'm not sure if I'm sharing the screen or not. Please confirm.
Yes, you are.
Okay, super. I am a leader of one of LTSER platforms, and I would say that a big part of my work is focused on nature-based solutions, as is work of many of our colleagues. Sorry, I cannot change. Okay, I would say that LTSER.
Dr. Kinga.
Yes.
Dr. Krauze, the presentation is shared in the presenter modes. Just
It's
letting
not
you know.
yet. I thought it is. Sorry.
If it's okay with you, it's okay, but just letting you know it's in presenter.
Just
Not very many of us can read Polish, so we're good.
okay. Let me try to.
Up on the upper right, you might be able to switch.
Is it now better?
It's the same.
Really? Because I did it already. I did it already.
Up on the upper right, is there an opportunity to switch displays?
Let me check. The issue is that my computer already shows that it is in a mode of slide sharing.
So there should be a place where you can switch displays, but I don't know where.
Yes, and the issue is that I did it and it did not recognize the fact anymore.
Okay. I think you can go ahead because if people can.
Okay. Sorry for that, because I really don't know why it is so. I can see it in presentation mode. That's the issue. Okay. Okay. Anyhow, I think that LTSER is quite good framework for nature-based solutions study and research, because as it is as definition, according to definition we adopted from a European community, which says that NBS are actions inspired by, supported by, or copied from nature. We offer a lot of good research focused on ecosystem services and based on cause-effect analysis and process quantification that can contribute to kind of pillars which serve nature-based solutions. And I think that four very important ones are ecosystem engineering, microbiology, phytoremediation, and biotechnology itself. We also study blue-green infrastructure, which is kind of a medium which transfer nature-based solutions through the means, and this means is societal involvement and societal consensus. And NBS are about interventions, this is also something which happens in our case. Nature-based solutions are considered as something which we can copy from, so we need the source, and LTR provides those sites which gives us some knowledge about the nature working as undisturbed. But it's also about transfer of services and enabling environment, and in case of enabling environment, we talk about water, space, time, and societal choice as very important factors, and this is something which LTSER work on. Looking for NBS, we in fact use a natural capital, and this natural capital is not equally distributed. So basically, the more we disturb nature, the smaller is natural capital, but there is more and more users of those capital. So more and more consumers looking at ecosystem services. So we create type of debt, and LTSER, as it studies big rather regions than sites, can also focus on transfer of the capital from zones of low disturbance to zones of high disturbance. And NBS can play different roles in all of them. Like for low disturbance sites, nature-based solutions can help to increase resistance of sites. For a medium disturbance size, NBS can help in restoration work, and in high disturbance size, NBS can enable nature into the city under condition of high pressure. And I would like to show you a few examples of work we do now. 3 cases come from urban sites and are funded under Joint Programming Initiative Water by Commission, European Commission. These are Helsinki, Łódź, and Lyon. In Helsinki, we work on restoration of water cycle based on stormwater trapping. So here is example which provides flood prevention, drought mitigation, microclimate regulation, and habitat provision. In Łódź, we work more on combined or hybrid solutions. So we combine gray infrastructure with green infrastructure, and also some microbiological work which serves biotechnology. So there are 4 examples of a sequential sedimentation biofiltration system, which is focused on nutrient trapping, sedimentation control, erosion control, and habitat provision. Lyon develops similar barriers for pollution based on porous ramps, which are applied to creeks around the city. So here you have regulatory services like nutrient trapping and sedimentation control supported by nature-based solutions. And we have here also 2 examples coming from rural areas. One from Greece, which is restoration of forest and river banks at Evrotos River, which uses some sustainable agriculture and forestry, and also some technical solutions to prevent erosion, to provide habitats for fish mostly, and nutrient control. And one more example from Poland, from the Pilica LTSER, which shows you the nitrification wall. So basically, this is groundwater protection system, the construction phase, and then how it looks after 1-2 years in the corner. So this is about habitat provision and nutrient control, of course. What may not be so much visible here are funding sources. For many of such implementations of NBS, we use Life Plus mechanism, which supports implementations and construction, which is not so very often. Considering involving actors and making actions, I could develop different methodologies here, showing how you should map stakeholders and so on. And most of you know already all those methods, but I would say that as NBS are about implementations, and implementations very often are quite costly, therefore, pragmatically, I think in many cases we use even unconsciously a kind of business model. And this is the model we started to use in 2 other projects, which is Canvas. But on the Canvas basis, I would like to show you those stakeholders which we usually focus on when we talk about NBS. These are problem owners, because they are very much interested in solving the problem. Those are partners and resource providers. of course, communicators, of course, decision makers and policy makers, and usually we involve also those groups of people who could be impacted by NBS or a risk created by NBS in some cases. And how successful we are or in involvement of stakeholders. Here is the graph coming from the paper by Dickett et al. From 2018, where analysis of 23 platforms showed major groups of stakeholders we used to work with, and those are governing organizations, organized civil society, academics, and members of civil society. And finally, talking about future directions as they come from our implementation work and practical work. This is definitely citizen science. It's not enough to inform people. It's not enough to co-design. You have pictures here showing this co-design, but it's also important to involve people in tracing efficiency of NBS, because we still don't trust nature. So there is a lot of space to build a trust in NBS by proving on the ground that these solutions can be efficient. We still miss some data on NBS upscaling and the synergistic effect because usually NBS are implemented in particular sites. There is a lot of space to focus on end users, which will support our linkage to technology and innovation. And last but not least, business cases. NBS, especially when we want to build a network of NBS efficient in dealing with climate change, for example, we need quite a lot of resources and quite a lot of agreement among different investors. So making NBS business case would definitely help. Thank you.
Thank you, Kinga. Thank you for your presentation. We have a short time for questions, maybe one.
Well, I'll ask, Kinga, you mentioned that these projects that are in Helsinki, Łódź, and Lyon, are those all associated with eLTER or LTSER platforms?
Yes, those all three are LTSER platforms. So in fact, we use this argument to get the project funded as a part of network and as cities which have quite a history of collaboration. We could offer quite a lot of grant proving that we are involved in such actions and we can carry on a quite interesting work.
I was just going to comment that there's a lot of great stuff that's come out in this particular webinar about opportunities for early career scholars associated with these various networks. And Tessa, if you could put the link in the chat, we are for US early career scholars, we are offering opportunities for what we're calling learning exchanges. And so in those learning exchanges, we would support students traveling to or remotely participating in various kinds of activities like some of the ones that you all have described. And I think it's a great opportunity for interaction. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the folks who presented today, but everyone else as well. We still are happy to accept hosts. You don't have to be on the list for people to reach out to you, but if you are, it makes it easier. And yeah, I think that would be fantastic. We might, Johan, we might have time for one more comment or question if anybody has that.
Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, sure. Maybe one key question or comment. I have a comment. I'm personally really interested in upscaling the MBS solution, so I'm really excited to, see the future research of the eLTR. Hope we can collaborate in the future and then, keep in touch. Thank you, Dr. Krauze, Kinga. And I think this is for today. Thanks everyone for joining our webinars, and our next webinar will be in January.
And happy holidays,
And also,
everyone.
happy holidays. And if you are institution or if you want to introduce your institution to the NATURA network, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel and Mario.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Kinga. Good to see everybody's faces. Take care.